Welcome to the Rocky Road Podcast, brought to you by Rockbusters, with your host, Dennis Wager. Dennis is a best-selling author and an expert in demolition, rock, and concrete breaking, as well as a professional blaster. He is also president of Rockbusters Incorporated, along with his son, Brian. On the podcast, you'll hear exciting stories of how these challenge types of rock and concrete jobs are done. You learn about the uses of expanding grout and explosive devices. But furthermore, you'll hear about some of the hurdles and struggles entrepreneurs and business owners have had along the way, how they got started, and how they broke through the obstacles and found the path to success. Along with that, some insight for young people and people wanting to get into the industry. So listen in. I hope you enjoy the show. Now, here's Dennis Wager.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Just want to introduce our guest today, Jolie Spahr. Welcome to the show, Jolie.
Hey there, Dennis. I'm so excited to be hanging out with you, especially on a podcast venue instead of, face to face.
Yeah, who would have thought, right? You look back a year or whatever ago, and who'd have thought we'd be doing podcasts today?
I would have never guessed, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. So as we want to introduce you to the show, also to the company. You're now with our company, and in particular, mainly focusing on the U.S. You're our U.S. operations manager, and I was just very happy to have you on here and get your kind of thoughts and opinions, and maybe you could start off with a bit of your background and kind of what brought you here today.
Yeah, I'd love to chat about that, especially because I think it's really interesting. It's almost a little bit, it's been my career, particularly in these last few years, has been an interesting progression, I feel. A few years ago, I left a company that I started my last bit of my professional stretch, where I was working for a professional services company that worked supporting, different corporations within the state of Washington. They specialized in security and janitorial and phone services, things like that. We had over 500 employees. And I got to develop and run the training and the hiring and the orientations for the employees that were coming into the organization. What was super fun about that is that I was working day by day with people who needed work. They were kind of starting out. Most of them were young, some were older, but I just derived a lot of joy every day coming in and helping people have employment and feeding their families and getting by with their necessities of life. And they're just such amazing people. So when I left that company, I took an extreme, I guess, turn in the type of company that I worked for. And I worked for an executive recruiting firm, essentially, that specialized in high-end tech. And it was completely different than my job before. I was, working in the C-suite and VP type positions of giant tech companies is it seems like such a dramatic difference, but I was able to pull in my love by understanding that when you're working and you're hiring people at the top end of companies, what you're doing is you're hiring the people, or you're getting people in the positions that will be hiring all across America, right? Or the world, generally speaking, right? And so
That's
it's about jobs, right? It's about people and jobs and them developing their livelihoods still again. And that's just kind of something that I've loved. And it just perfectly builds into this new position that I've accepted, the role here at Rockbusters, working, at Rockbusters US. The company will be hiring, hopefully, throughout the U.S. again, and maybe the world is what we're hoping, right? That we can
we're hoping
some impact.
Yeah, and I really like the background, the history, and experience that you bring to the table. I find it very strong. There's a lot of strength in that, and just like you said, to be able to kind of take a look at it or analyze it from the top down and hire the key people first. Because once you have the key people in place, then it's easier to hire more people.
That's right. When you have people who are who are focused on developing the individuals that they have working with them and for them. And when you have individuals who genuinely care about the people they're hiring, then you're building a structure that helps everybody. And that's just absolutely what I love. And I think that, Dennis, you've talked a lot about that in the past, that's a drive of yours as well.
Yeah, it is. And it's really cool, I think, that you can go from a world of tech to blowing things up. It's totally different and yet the same, right? As is all businesses, when you get to the fundamentals and the roots of them, other than the technical parts, the things are the same. So
right.
That's what
All
I
business
like.
requires people, right? And requires developing that structure. And so when you take any business apart, it's the same thing. It's developed to make money and to sustain itself, and then to have people under it that are benefiting from that same structure.
Right. And if everybody makes money, then everybody wins. Everybody's got an interest in it and wants to come ahead, right? And that's what I really like to see. And I really like it, go to job sites and seeing, progress and like the hard work happening and all that. It just, there's something about it, like jackhammering rock and drilling and sledgehammering and all that crazy stuff. It's like very physical, it's hard work, but it's rewarding, and that's, for me, I like both. And I'm really so lucky that in my position, I get to enjoy both. I get to be in the office and, enjoy the lunchroom, the boardroom, all the nice stuff we have here at the office, but, also travel other countries, other jobs, and just locally see our jobs here and our guys, working. And it is really a great feeling.
Yeah,
that's what we want to build more.
Yeah, in the office, it's on paper, right? We're on computer now, right? So we're seeing everything and we're putting it together, and it's all one dimensional, more or less. But when you're out in the field, it's you're getting that human touch, but also you're feeling and seeing what's being created in the work, and I think that's pretty incredible too.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts for developing, more of the U.S.? Like, what do you have in mind?
Well, I'm super excited about the U.S. and the prospects that we have. And so the U.S. right now is primarily focused on our product division, right? And so we have our two main products are Rock X and Rock Double X. And then in addition, we have Roy X, the explosives. And focusing on getting that into the hands of the people who use them across the country is a main drive for me, and for obviously you also as the president of the company. That's what we'd like to do is have the increase the recognition, what's available, and how people can do their jobs with the products that we have. And so that expanding route makes things possible that wouldn't, or people don't even understand they can do. And then, and then the Roy X on top of that. Do you have
exactly? I mean, yeah, that's what I've seen too. Like expanding grout is a great product. It's been around, there's a few different brands. They've all been around for several years, but a lot of people just have limited knowledge on how to use them, right? Like one of the things I've always noticed is the other guys just call it like drill, mix, and pour. And yeah, you can drill, mix, and pour, but there's so much more in an advanced version of it too, like with power pull holes or even tunneling. Now we can do vertical rock breaking. You can do like so many things. Even you just have to really understand it. And now with the Rock Double X, where we can go into the large diameter holes, you can do regular blast pattern jobs where you drill a 3 or 4 inch hole and have your spacing 3-4 feet apart instead of 1, which saves you a lot of money in grout. So yeah, things like that. So it's really just kind of educating people more and more. And then the dealers are going to be a big key part of what we're putting together.
Yeah, for sure. And it was interesting, Dennis, when I came in to Rockbusters just 2 months ago, right? One of the first things I got to do with the time before I had my fingers on more things is I did a little bit of what I guess we could call market research, right? Where I was reaching out and having conversations with people across the country, and it was interesting to me how few people in the industry actually knew about the products that we carry. And so there's a lot of education that can happen. The market, the field is wide open, really, on education.
It is, and it's funny you mentioned that because I just had a conversation this morning with a company in Korea, and it's the same thing. And it just they have a lot of rock in Korea, and it's really hard rock. So it's like I didn't know that until I started talking to them. But you have rock in China, rock in Korea, like some very hard rock in Sweden. Sweden was where dynamite was first invented back in the who knows what year before my time. It was like the 1700s or something like that when they invented dynamite. But yeah, you don't really realize that kind of first look at it, like how much rock really comes up, and then if you're excavating or whatever you're trying to do, put trench in for pipelines or excavating for a house or whatever the case may be, and you're dealing in rock, everybody struggles with it, right? And now over the past, say, decade, there's been, some products come up like expanding grout or like a low explosive, but it's always been kind of new and a bit, people are a bit unsure of it, a bit unsure of how to use it. And I think we're one of the only companies that sells and does the work with a multitude of products. So, with us, we can take a look at what the customer is up against and what they want to do, because it's really not about us. It's what the customer has at hand, right? And it's like, how do we serve them, or how do we help them do what they want to do better or cheaper or faster or easier, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the part I enjoy about it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that drew me to you, Dennis. Back, in developing, our working relationship over the last year. Especially as we've talked about, your business and the way it's been developing, and then with me coming on, one of the things that really pushed me in the direction of coming on with you was your character in that you really do want to educate people. You really do want them to have successful projects. And if they are using our products, that's super duper awesome. But you're also there to help to walk them through, to problem solve, to get a best case scenario every time, if that involves us, or another way. You have, I know since I've been with you, where something better was available, you directed them that, in that direction. But if we're the best, you're honest with them and you let them know. And I think that that's just that character strength of that honesty and that really wanting to give just altruistically is a fantastic thing. And so I do appreciate that. And I think that that's a good thing for our company.
I do too. I think so too. And I appreciate you saying that. But it is really about the customer and what they need, right? So, I mean, I look at it like you could make a sale, but you don't want a one-time sale. You want to build the customer. So it's just kind of like what's really the best solution, right? And that's honestly why we do the work ourselves too. Like we do sell like a lot of product, but in the trenches, whatever you want to, if you want to call it that, with doing the work is where you have the struggles, right? It's like, why didn't that rock break? Or, why did it not go all the way to the corner like I wanted it to? Or how do I do this? Or, why is the drill leaking oil? Or why is the drill not drilling? and through the problems, you're able to fix those problems, and you're able to try a variety of tools, a variety of different ways. And you're able to tell that story to the customers that are calling you, right? And not to say that we have all the answers, because we don't, but we do have the experience and the knowledge that we've learned from the experiences. So I think that's really where the value is, right? And I see the whole industry evolving a lot now.
Yeah, I think for sure there's tremendous value from getting to sit in on conversations with you and other blasters and hearing their stories and their experiences and your own, that I've heard, some of them several times and others, just it's always astounds me, these interesting stories that you pop up that I haven't yet heard. And having those experiences, it obviously in the rock breaking industry, it's critical to have that experience and understand what you're dealing with and different ways to problem solve. That it's not always a textbook answer. It's something that you have to combine textbook, with the actual
Yeah.
on the boots on the
Right.
ground
And
experience.
right. And that's what I've come to realize over the years is that, you get different views or opinions or, like a blasters want to blast. That's what they do. They're kind of like the born and bred type of person that this is what I do. I blast, right? And, they do use alternatives, like grout or what have you, but it's not their go-to. Their go-to is I want to use high explosives. That's what I like. And that's what they do. That's a totally awesome thing, but it's just one way of viewing things, right? Where that might be just one part of your overall audience, right? Is the blaster. A homeowner would be or our builder would be like a total different audience, right? Like they're not along the mindset of like, hey, I want to blast. They're of the mindset of I don't want to blast. So and it's like, how do I take the rock out without blasting, and how do I take it out the best way, like the most efficient or the most economical or what have you. And the same with other things, with demolition of, we've done a lot of big crane bases and tunneling jobs, underwater jobs. So you get a variety of customers, right? And it's really like, I've learned to kind of I like to kind of say it like you put yourself in their shoes, as a lot of people say. But it's also if you put yourself in their eyes, like how would they see you, or how would they see the best solution, right?
Yeah, that's right. You've said so many interesting things in there. And one of the fun things that you just said just a short bit ago was that, sometimes people don't want to, I think most of them want to blast something big and quick.
Oh, yeah, it's fun. Don't get me wrong.
Just getting rid of it.
Hey, we all want to blast, yeah.
Right. They want to.
Even if it's just on a weekend, let's just go blow something up.
It
doesn't get better than that, yeah. But
well, for me, it's my flower garden, but for,
yeah, well, hey, just
blowing things up.
Yeah, well, just wait till you come out to the first training day and we'll blow something up, and, you'll see how you like it then.
Yeah, I can imagine that's actually something I'm really looking forward to. I think we're doing that in September is when.
Yeah, in September, we're going to have one in California.
Yeah, that's super exciting, and I'm excited to meet the whole team, people that will be there, and I hope that group continues to grow. That'll be great.
Yeah, that's what I like too, and I really am excited about having to the luxury of working with people from all over the country, right? Like all over North America. It's like we're in both countries, and the California September event will be kind of like everybody's welcome to come. So that'll be a lot of fun. We're going to have some things we're going to blow up. We're going to do some training in the morning. We'll have lunch, have a barbecue. Then blow some things up again, learn some things. And it's all about, well, I like, and I think most people do is you learn kind of both ways. You learn by, reading, but mostly hands-on. So, when I took my exam for my blasting license, it was like reading the textbook, understanding it. But then when you really go out in the field and start to use it, that's why in our training, what we do is we just start people off with like a few small boulders. You blow up the boulders first, and then you get the, chance to select the proper cartridge size. And, you do it in a safe environment, so nothing's going to go wrong. But then they get comfortable with how to choose what cartridge for what they want to do. And then you can increase into bigger and bigger shots after that. But, that's exciting. It's fun, right?
It is exciting. And yeah, you're right. That kinesthetic learning is really, really important, right? That's kind of what solidifies it, actually doing it once you've understood the practices. If I can just recap, I think you said that event is going to be blowing up stuff, eating, training, blowing up stuff, and then another blowing up stuff. I don't know. That was a lot of blowing up.
Probably and more eating.
Right. Oh, and more eating. Okay, so eating, tapping on all the ends. That
Yeah.
sounds
So
really good.
be all of the above there.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun though. But and I'm super excited because we're currently reworking our great. I think we have a pretty phenomenal training program, but we're reworking that, and that'll be fun to get to use it there also.
Exactly. Then we have a few dealers now, as you know, and then we're just trying to get more and more dealers on board. That's the vision, and then from there we'll start to develop some managing partners, which the managing partners will be able to go and take on jobs, and everybody can work together. The dealers can supply the partners, and everybody helps each other.
Yeah, I am just absolutely excited for our future with our team that we have, and as that continues to develop over the years, right? It'll be fantastic. And so,
Yeah, because there's more and more jobs that people just they're just spec'd in with the no blasting, right? And as soon as the engineers or architects do that, they're searching for a different way or a better way.
yeah, and how about you mentioned, Dennis, how you'll say it, of course, way better than I can. However, as buildings are getting older in cities and things have to be taken down and replaced, or even people are the zoning is changing and people can build higher in the same locations, and so they're making their properties more valuable. But high blast explosives aren't necessarily going to work in those situations, and so it'll be interesting to watch our world, take a new shape.
Evolve, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always do it like a hierarchy of like most violent or aggressive first, and then kind of least effective or efficient last, right? So, ANFO dynamite, the high explosives are the most violent, the cheapest, most productive way. And then it's usually regulations or situations that knock you out. So if you're inside of a building, you're clearly not going to use high explosives. You're not going to use a low explosive like our Royex. You're down to, I'm going to use a splitter or I'm going to use grout. So it's really just kind of analyzing the job at hand, right? So if you're out in the field, say you're building a logging road or in a gravel pit, you're always going to use high explosives, and that's great. That's the way to go. But once you get more constricted or confined, then your selections to go down the list from the most aggressive to the least aggressive. The least aggressive is always the most expensive way and the slowest way. So you want to try to see what is the best to suit, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a toss up. Like you could use, hydraulic splitters, or you could use grout in a lot of cases. And what I find is that always the best is you want instant results. So the problem with grout's a great product. But the problem with grout is that you don't get the instant results. Like you drill your holes, you pour it, and you go home, and then you're hoping that it's going to break in the morning, and it might not. You might have to wait an extra day, or even if it does, then you come in and you dig it out, and then you see what you're left with, and then you pour again, right? Whereas with something that gives you instant results, like the splitters or like Royex, you fire it or you break it, you dig it out, and then you go again. So it's a continuous process. So it's a lot faster and more efficient. And you can actually see what you get done, and you can work through any weather. Like the water, the snow, it's not going to affect you, right? You're just working.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about rock is actually rock is a lot nicer environment to work on a job site, because it's not all muddy and gross like working in a deep excavation in the mud, right?
Yeah, so there's always that benefit, right? And I'll tell you what, you've sent some beautiful pictures, and we have some on file of just incredible locations that the work has had to be done. And I think that's interesting as well. When a project needs to happen, it needs to happen. In fact, one of the other things that I've absolutely loved about Rockbusters and our stories that we have is that we've been able to work in sensitive areas that need to be protected here in the U.S. With the I know you've mentioned it before in your podcast, but the the Grand Canyon, which is like, I don't know about, you, but most Americans hold the Grand Canyon pretty close to their heart, especially if
I
they've been to
absolutely do.
visit
Yeah,
it.
the Grand Canyon is probably one of the, or if not my favorite place on earth.
Well, yep. So there we go. Yeah. And so to think
Yeah.
that you're part of making sure that those jobs not only are completed, but to protect that environment as well, I think is critical.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like when I was working in the Grand Canyon, like we're at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, everything had to get helicoptered in there, and then we actually camped out at the floor of the canyon. But we worked alongside of an archaeologist. Was the first time for me ever having to do that, and it was just in case you found any fossils or bones or anything. As it is, many millions of years old. But it was just like the appreciation of all the parks rangers or the parks, people that were stopping by, and we got to share a bunkhouse there at the ranger station, and everybody just, it was so cool to watch. Like the one girl that came in, she started. I think they work in like 8-day shifts. They do 8 days on, 8 days off. And they'll start at one rim, like they'll start at the south rim or the north rim, and they'll do all the trails. And then 8 days later, they end up at the opposite rim. And that's their time done, right? But everything is manual. Everything is, like shorts and boots. And, it's everybody has such an appreciation for the environment there. And what stood out to me was the fact that, they still have nature to deal with, like even though the trails are well maintained, they have storms and they have rocks that roll down and land on the trails that they got to break up. And you're talking about something that's a day to hike in and a day to hike out. So you're not packing much equipment down there. You're doing it all by hand, right? So any holes you got to drill, it's, with the cordless drill, you're going to carry in the backpack. And anything you're going to break, you got to do it by hand. So those are the kind of things you take that kind of mentality and take it into like, hey, now I've got to take all this rock out of someone's basement. And you go, okay, well, hey, we did it like this in the Grand Canyon. We can do it in the basement. And then you take the other experience from breaking concrete, 100 and some odd feet underwater. It's like, okay, well, that's how we did it there. We can do that over here. And you just kind of connect the dots or, put the pieces together.
Yeah, what's funny, Dennis, is I have not put that connection together quite the same. It's just like literally right now hearing your story about that or your description. Any site that rock breaking is happening, that site is precious to at least some, if not many, and in the right types of paths that you take to complete that job need to be taken to protect the, whatever the situation is, even if it's a huge construction project, right? There's still things that are considered and have to come into consideration that we need to remember that it's important to everybody on each of the teams that we work with. And that's a really neat thing.
Yeah. Even in somebody's basement, like you really have to appreciate like, hey, it's their concrete foundation walls that need to stay intact. Like you need to respect that, and you can't go too close because you may crack it. So you just want to always keep those things in mind to keep, the customer in the best, position after you leave, then they can continue on building, right? That's
right. Since I work from my basement when I'm home here in the U.S. office, I appreciate that extra special in my heart is protecting those at-home type things. It's critical.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me ask you, what advice do you have for young people that would like to get into this business?
Ooh, my heck, Dennis, that's such a fun question that I think you love to ask. And for me, it could apply to rock blasting, but it could really apply to anything. But as far as rock blasting goes, if I was a young person, I was interested in it, I'd start contacting companies that do that kind of work. Demolition or any heavy construction, and I'd ask them, if they allow for someone to come in and to learn or to work side by side or to intern or to pick up rocks, for heaven's sakes, whatever it is. I don't know. In every situation would be different. But I think that people, when you have an interest in something that's close to your heart, you reach out and you start finding those people who have that that same interest, and even better, have the ability to make a career out of it. I think that if we look around in the world, we see people who are willing to help build other human beings, and I believe that humanity is just freaking good at its core, and it's about us reaching out. It's about us being curious, and so you can do that when you're old. You could also do that when you're young, and that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's good advice. Sometimes it's very simple advice, and sometimes we don't always look at the simple way, right?
I think sometimes also we think nobody wants to be there for us. And through my years of life, when you open your eyes and you see all the people who are willing to be there and to hold each other and to lift each other up, you'll notice that there's lots of people willing to do that. And they're just waiting to be asked and have that opportunity.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean, that's part of what I enjoy doing is mentoring people and coaching and helping them kind of learn things and be productive. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Well, that's great. I think we're at time, and I just want to say thanks for joining us and being on the show. I really appreciated it, and it was a great episode.
Yeah, well, it was fun to get to hang out with you this way, Dennis, and have a conversation that's just a little bit different than our day-to-day.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to be a guest on a future episode and tell us your story, visit our website at www.rockbusters.com. If you have a project and would like to learn more about our products, or if you're interested in partnering with us and becoming a distributor, give us a call. Thanks again. We appreciate your support.